Good morning and welcome to episode 89 of the Jaguar Report podcast. My name is Gus Logue, joined by my co-host John Shipley. John, what's your Super Bowl pick? I'm gonna put you on the
I,
spot right away.
I think Chiefs by like 10, dude. I think Spags is gonna get the Purdy once or twice.
Yeah,
Purdy, God's favorite son, will absolutely make a couple plays here or there that he absolutely shouldn't make. But I got Chiefs by like 10, dude. They're a different team in the playoffs. You know, Mahomes turns up. Andy Reid, for some reason, is better in the playoffs, which is funny because he used to be the coach who couldn't coach in the playoffs. And then it seems like Travis Kelce literally took the entire year off, still got 1,000 yards or whatever, but like he was running like Mercedes Lewis in like October, and
yeah.
now he's uncoverable. So I got Chiefs by 10, and I'm excited to see the amount of complaints and excuses the 49ers have again. Because you're already seeing it, talking about the practice field's too soft, stuff like that. What Travis Kelce do? He did the chugga 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 choo choo excuse train coming to San Francisco, baby.
True, right?
Yeah.
What was it,
I got Chiefs. I got
that game?
Chiefs.
I think the Chiefs are gonna win big too. Like I feel like they just showed, kind of like you said during this playoffs, that they're just have so much experience on their side now. Like Reed has gotten better. Spags has always been a playoff beast, and Mahomes just I feel like hasn't made a mistake in 3 postseasons. So I mean, I think there is like a way that like the Niners get out to a lead early, and then like McCaffrey is able to just kind of like run away with the game for them. But yeah, I feel like eight or 9 times out of 10, the Chiefs are going to be able to win this one.
And the 49ers defense has not been good in the playoffs.
Yeah, that too. It's a little leaky.
They've really relied on turnovers like to make anything happen. My recommendation to Trader First for Chase Young has luckily been forgotten about, but he's seemed pretty useless during this little playoff run. So we'll see. I personally want Mahomes to get another ring because I've tweeted so many times in like the last 4 years that he's the best ever. So I just want to keep piling on. It's a good bit when people compare like Brady's like season like 6 through 10 to Mahomes is like 1 through 6. Like, no, that's the entire point. You're making the argument then. You know, Mahomes has been like, you can like most elite quarterbacks, you can put their careers into like 3 different stages, like thirds. Like you do it with Peyton, Brady. It's like basically 3 different careers. Like Mahomes is still in his first one, and he's still racking them up. So for my narrative purposes, I'm going with Big Red this weekend.
Yeah, no, his peak is scary. I do want to see Shanahan win a ring too at some point, but I'm kind of with you where I want Mahomes to get another one more, just in this particular matchup. And then
I actually think it's funnier that Shanahan never wins one. I want him to be he's Mike McDaniels like with like a Mario mushroom. You know, he powers up. Like he can at least get to the Super Bowl, but he's a regular season. It's a front runner offense. Tyreek was right. It's a front runner offense.
I just want him to get one so that like looking back on it, the legacy of him isn't like, oh, he's the coach that could never win a ring. Like it should be like, oh, he's a coach that like changed offense for a decade plus. So
Fair point.
It's Fair just enough. I'm trying to get ahead of the narrative on this one.
Who you got next year's Super Bowl? 49ers or Jags?
Probably the Jags.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's too early. Give me a week. I'll come with my Super Bowl prediction next week.
I don't need a week, man. Rod Nielsen's gonna put Shanahan in a full-on like ankle lock, make him tap out.
You're calling it now? Should I write it down? Jags.
Go ahead. Jags don't play the 49ers next year, do they?
No.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and put this down.
Okay.
The Jaguars will hold Shanahan offenses to 17 points per game next year. I know they play like at least 2 with the Texans.
Yeah, I love the fact that you made sure that they weren't actually playing Shanahan himself before you said that. What?
Oh, I would have kept that in there.
What, 17 points per game?
Yeah, against Shanahan offenses.
Right, what Shanahan offenses do they play? Are you pulling up the schedule?
Okay, they got the Texans twice.
Right.
They got Miami. They got Miami.
They do.
That's 3. And okay, they got 3. They got 3. They got some McVay offenses in there, so they got 3. So that's that. They will hold the Texans and Dolphins to 17 points per game across 3 games.
Okay, that actually makes the take pretty even better because like those are 2 pretty legit offenses. So
yeah, they are.
I'm putting that in parentheses. Just Houston twice, Miami.
That's right.
HOU2X.
That's very right.
All right.
Because I mean, if they did play the 49ers, I definitely would have adjusted that. I don't like really get a feel for the next year's schedule until next year is almost here. But I mean, they got some interesting games. They play the Bears on the road. They play the Lions on the road. They play New England. They play the Jets. They play the Packers. They play the Vikings. They got the Browns again.
Very interesting. Like there's some like okay matchups, but
Eagles. That's an interesting game. Come on.
That is an interesting game.
Jags and Packers?
Yeah, I was going to say Packers was the only one really that caught my mind.
Jags Lions?
Years. Yeah.
Jags Jets?
I'm getting sick of the Lions. They're a fun story. They're a good story. It's just
it is funny to me that Brad Holmes went on his burn everything down, screw everybody.
That was cool.
After winning 2 playoff games. You haven't done anything.
Brent Baalke isn't alone. It's not just a him thing. All GMs are.
It would be like Dave Caldwell doing that after they went to the AFC Championship game. You know, like that. It would have been this. It would have been the same exact thing. So I'm all for it. I will say I would love for that to happen in Jacksonville press conference because
I do think part of his point though, like I didn't listen to really the whole thing. It was mostly clips, but I feel like he did also say like this isn't just like a one-time Cinderella run. Like everything's like for a reason. So I think he was like trying to like push against that narrative. So it was another just entertaining presser. So
I'm not rooting for them to go 8-9. However,
yeah,
I mean, still took Jack Campbell in the first, buddy.
Well, they're not serious in my opinion.
Yeah, no,
like, Goff is good. Like he's like Purdy or Kirk Cousins or like players who are like good and can get to like multiple Pro Bowls, but like really won't get you to a Super Bowl unless Kyle Shanahan is your coach or Sean McVay.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I don't know. I can't. No, like the Lions could go 16-1 next year, and I'll still say I'm skeptical because they took Jack Campbell in the first.
Just for Jack Campbell? Yeah,
dude, he's terrible. Terrible. He's the worst first-round linebacker since.
No.
Yeah.
Don't even go there.
I'll keep it to myself. I'll put that one on ice for another 12 months, and then we can revisit that one.
Speaking of the Jaguars, today we're going to be doing an award show because NFL Honors is tomorrow, aka Thursday, February 8th at 9 p.m. I believe.
It is?
So, yeah.
Oh, that's such a weird. Why have it on a Thursday?
I don't know.
That's weird.
I think they've been like changing it up, like changing up small things about the scheduling a lot in recent years to try to like make it more watched because like I don't think anyone really watches it. So because it used to be like the Saturday before the Super Bowl, right? For a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're just hoping.
That's why I'm mixed. That's why I was mixed up because I was like, why the hell is it so early?
Right. So it's tomorrow, but this is good timing. So we're gonna give out our own like league-wide real NFL award ballots later in the show. But first, we're going to go over some specific Jaguars awards. That's right. So let's go right off the bat with MVP. Who do you got?
It's got to be Josh Allen. He had the best single season any Jaguars pass rushers ever had. After he already had probably the 5th best, like as a rookie. He was top 5 in every important pass rusher metric. He was right up there with Myles Garrett in terms of pass rush win rate on true pass sets, which is none of the fake stuff like RPOs, play action, screens, etc. He was a revelation this year. I thought that he had the kind of season that people have. I think kind of been waiting for him to have, but I think that's mostly because he's been so good before. Like we've talked about, he's never gotten a ton of sacks in the year before this year, but he's always been a really good pressure player. I had somebody like say to me when I was getting on my soapbox about his contract last week that was it feel like to me he's only had one good year. Well, you're wrong. I mean, you can literally find articles from last offseason where he was, I think PFF had him as like the fourth best pass rusher against true pass sets in 2022. So he's obviously always been good at,
Right.
Finally things broke for him the right way this year. He also got a big luck year, I think. So I think it's got to be Josh Allen. And on the topic of Josh Allen, the Pro Bowl stuff was funny. Yeah, Evan Ingram basically being like, no, he literally has to be back. And Evan Ingram, I think, is a good comparison. Like the contract, the money isn't anywhere near the same, so the conversations are obviously different. But Ingram was another guy who he got tagged last year, and then it took him a while to get a new deal. And people don't remember this, but at training camp last year, Ingram's first availability after he got paid, he was like basically said like, "Yeah, I thought I was going to get paid a lot sooner." Basically, like seemed pissed that the process dragged out the way it did. So I could see it, being similar. So I think MVP has got to be Josh Allen. And what did he say at the Pro Bowl to media? Somebody said, "What do you think about Trent Baalke's comments?" And he's like, "We got to talk.
We gotta talk. That was one of the ones that's like worth actually watching rather than just seeing the quote.
Yeah,
it was well delivered. What do you think?
What about you?
What do you think the chances are that he signs a contract before the trade deadline? Like, do you think it's like 10% and like there's a chance, or it's more of like a 0% chance, and you think it's definitely going to be like the tag and then negotiate type process?
So you mean like before the trade deadline in like next season?
So like before March 5th, I think is when like you have to officially say like when you designate. Gotcha.
I don't think there's any chance he gets paid before the franchise tag. If he gets paid at all this offseason, which I'm leaning toward won't happen, but if he does, I think it would happen like May, June, something like that. Like I very much so, per sources, the thinking inside the building from some people is that Trent Baalke's thinking is, I want to see him do it again. And obviously there's nothing that can happen between now and next year to make that change. So I think the Jags will make him an offer. Probably won't be a very good one or maybe fair one. And he gets franchise tagged, has to potentially plan the tag. But I'd be interested to see if he calls their bluff on it. I mean, he didn't go to voluntary workouts last year. Could that be like a warning shot to them? I don't know. And I also think if you're Doug Peterson, you want to get in Trent's ear, like, dude, sign this guy, because it affects Doug Peterson a lot more than it affects Trent Baalke. What happens with this? Because if you get a disgruntled Josh Allen and there's any chance he doesn't play, like if he misses any time next year, like that impacts Doug Peterson's job. Like he obviously needs to win this year, and having your best player, like not best defensive player, your best player potentially not on the field or not at training camp, stuff like that is obviously a big thing. And I don't know, man. You go back and you look at some of Baalke's stuff in San Francisco. It was similar. Jim Harbaugh would literally say in press conferences, he's like, "We need to get this guy paid." It's like the coach being like, "Please pay my players." So it'll be interesting to see. Not saying that's what's happening here, but if I was Doug Peterson, I'd be like, "Dude, get this done. Like I need him, not we. Like I need him."
That's honestly pretty crazy that Harbaugh said it publicly, and it kind of just like got to that point. So I guess it'll also be interesting to see whether it gets to that point with Peterson here in Jacksonville. But
yeah,
I actually first wrote down Trevor Lawrence for MVP just because I got a little bit too much in my head about like the word valuable in the phrase. Just because I think like it's pretty clear that like when the team was kind of like clicking and it had a good start, it's because the offense was mostly healthy, really, like just besides Zay Jones. And then like Kirk and Trevor kind of like both went down at the same time. Kirk was out for an extended period, and then Trevor was just like really banged up for the second half of the season. But so I feel like the like explainer for 2023 was like if you had to put it on like one player, it's like revolves around Trevor Lawrence's health. But with that said, like Josh Allen was like the best player on the team. He also like broke the team's single season sack record. Um, I think it's like pretty clearly Josh Allen after
Yeah.
thinking about it more.
Yeah, I don't think Trevor's a bad take. I don't know, if the Jaguars won 2 more games, I think Josh Allen would be at NFL honors, this weekend. Maybe not getting Defensive Player of the Year, but he'd at least, I think, be nominated.
No, I think that's fair. I can't believe Calvin Ridley wasn't nominated for Comeback Player of the Year. Like, what did Baker Mayfield come back from? Just being
I,
bad?
I don't think you can nominate Calvin for Comeback Player of the Year. He bet on games.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, but also, Baker came back from being a bad quarterback. Like Joe Flacco came back from being 40 years old. Yeah, no,
Right. Like,
I would give Comeback Player of the Year to Brees Hall. That's what I give it to. Yeah, and Hamlin, obviously, the circumstances, call for it, but I'll keep takes / jokes and riffs on that topic to myself. I don't need to put that on the areas, but Brees Hall would be who I would
yeah, Hall's a good one.
Yeah, no, but I don't think you can nominate Calvin.
No, I honestly hadn't even thought about that, but no, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
All right, Jaguars Offensive Player of the Year. Who you got?
I think it's got to be Trevor. I know we're the Trevor Lawrence defenders or whatever, but he was clearly like the best player this year on offense, right? When they were playing at their best, it was because of him. And when they were playing at their worst, he was the one giving them a shot. And I don't know who else you would give it to. Christian Kirk had a good year. Obviously, he missed those 5 games. He didn't have some kind of like transcendent year, he was having a good year. Evan Ingram, I think his season's honestly a bit overrated. I think the catch thing is more so like the volume thing and how many like checkdowns they gave him and stuff. And I personally don't think ETN, even with the context of the offensive line, was as impressive as people think. He obviously had that wild like 3 or 4 week stretch where he was popping off explosives like crazy. But I mean, he averaged less than 4 yards per carry, and I don't think that's all on the offensive line. So I think Trevor is the only answer. Honestly, my second pick would be Anton.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think those are the 2 best players on offense this year, personally.
Okay. I like the Anton take. I'll go with Trevor. My second pick would have been Ingram because, like, I agree with you where the stats are a bit overblown. But at the same time, like, at the end of the day, getting the second most receptions in NFL history in a single season for a tight end is still pretty impressive, especially when you consider that, like, Lawrence wasn't healthy the whole year and he was catching a lot from CJ Beathard. And maybe that did kind of pad the stats a little bit, but I don't know. It's not like he was, like, catching all those passes from an MVP candidate like Zach Ertz was from Carson Wentz in 2018, because that's when Ertz got the record for most receptions in a season. So I think, like, especially when like the Player of the Year awards are so kind of like stat biased in the like real awards, I feel like Ingram kind of gets at least an honorary mention there.
No, I agree. I think his consistency and durability probably also have to be factored in there when like so many other pieces like Walker Little missed time, Cam Robinson missed time, Ezra Cleveland missed time, Christian Kirk missed time, Trevor Lawrence missed time. Like everybody but Ingram, ETN, and Calvin Ridley, like basically missed time. So I think you definitely.
I would say Ingram was probably the most consistent player on offense last year, right?
Probably, yeah, probably. I'd say that's probably right. Yeah,
just from week 1 to 17.
I'd say that's probably fair. Yeah.
All right, but we're getting into Trevor. Defensive player. I put down Darius Williams.
I'm with you. Like, if you're not going to double dip, I think those were like their 2 clear best defenders. I'm not even sure who the third would be. Would it be Foye?
I feel like it would probably have to be.
Yeah. And I think that the gap between Foye and Darius is pretty significant based on, their production last year. Darius had a great season. He had the kind of season that you would absolutely hope for out of like a free agent cornerback. Like that signing has aged really well since they moved him, outside and not in the slot. Ever since they got that out of their minds, that signing's aged really well. Darius had a great season. Literally, well, I think there was just only like one play I can think of where I'm like, dude, what the hell was that? I think it was like the Isaiah Likely catch against Baltimore, where I thought for the entire 6 seconds before the ball got there that Darius was about to pick it, and I think he did too. And then he just got mossed. But outside of that, like he was fantastic. Really good ball skills. It was funny, like that little streak of interceptions he had because he went like 2.5 seasons without intercepting a single pass.
Yeah.
So good ball skills, and I thought he got better against the run this year too, and better as a tackler because teams kind of went at him in the running game a year before. And that was one of the reasons why he's not a good slot defender. He's not a physical guy, especially against the run. But I thought he tackled better this year. So I'm definitely with you. I think Allen was clearly their best defender this year. And then I think Darius is clearly their best, second best.
Yeah, and I feel like Allen was probably the most consistent defensive player, to stick with that theme. But Darius, I would say, was probably the second most consistent because it was impressive when like Tyson Campbell and Andre Sisco were battling with injuries halfway through the year, and like the pass defense overall dropped off, but Darius Williams' play and production didn't. So the fact that he was like, he definitely had a really good start to the season, but he finished well too. It's not like he just kind of like fell off a map after the first good 6 weeks.
Like he maybe stopped getting some interceptions, but they just stopped generating takeaways in general that second half of the season. Like it wasn't a him thing; it was them completely.
Yeah, and then teams would just start throwing out like Monteric Brown or an injured Tyson Campbell, and so can't complain when like the ball's not getting thrown his way.
Yeah.
All right, rookie of the year. I split this up by offense and defense because I feel like you're making the face where it's pretty obvious.
Brother,
it's going to be so. Offensive rookie of the year, we can just write in Anton Harrison. I meant to look. But I forgot to see like how many snaps he played versus any other rookie because I think he played probably like 1,000, and like the next closest rookie was under 100. Would be my guess.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good call. Yeah, I can find that for you right now. Give me a moment. I'm with you. I think Anton, I think he has like future Pro Bowl like level, talent. Honestly, I think that he obviously has some things that he has to work on and improve. Mainly the run game. It's every time. It feels like every time I compliment Anton Harrison, I get 8 different replies being like, "Well, how is he as a run blocker?" He's not good. He's one of 5 linemen on their line who's not good at run blocking. Sue him. The entire offensive line is bad at run blocking. I think a lot of it with him is technique, though, because obviously the physicality is there, the strength is there, the footwork's there. I think he just has to work on some technique stuff. I think he is a building block for them, honestly. So, all right, rookies. So Anton played 1,112 snaps. Okay, and then the next closest rookie on offense, Brenton Strange, played 307 snaps. Wouldn't have guessed that. Yeah, wouldn't have guessed that. only ran 90 routes for the record. Parker Washington played 239 snaps.
True.
Tank Bigsby played 12 fewer snaps than Blake Hance at 140. So that's something. And then defensively, they had. God, who even is the first defense guy? I'm gonna guess it's gonna be Antonio.
Yeah.
But dang, where is he? Yeah, Antonio played the most snaps on defense with a grand total of 172, with Tyler Lacey behind him at 145, Yasir Abdullah with 45, and obviously everybody else was a big old goose egg. Antonio's got to be the defensive one. It's literally him or Tyler Lacey, and I think Tyler Lacey showed some flashes as a run defender, but he didn't really do anything. Antonio's a guy I think you can actually get excited about, and rare W for the front office. They got Antonio by virtue of trading down for Anton Harrison. That's where they got the Antonio Johnson pick. So
Mm. Little
basically,
double whammy.
basically that one trade down netted Anton and Antonio, which, as things stand, might be their two only good players from that class.
Is that the greatest trade in Jaguars history?
That's one of them. It's one of them. The greatest trade that doesn't involve Scott Fitterer. Scott Fitterer is such a bad GM. Even the Jaguars were knocking candy out of him like a pinata.
I feel like with Antonio, like the thing is, he's like the only guy that's like a gem in the rough for them. Like they had so many like injuries to kind of like key players, and even though there wasn't like a lot of significant injuries, there was still a lot of key players that got like kind of dinged up. And I feel like Antonio Johnson was really like the only like day three guy, young guy, like non-starter that like really stepped up and like people could like look forward to him in the future. Because uh, like Monteric Brown had like a good season stepping up, but it was more of like he like didn't mess up, not like, oh, this guy is like really flashing and we want to see him like more of him.
Yeah, like just looking at their day three picks, like I mean, even looking at their non-first round picks, like Britton Strange, I don't think you can be excited about him. Maybe he turns into something. It's just like I don't even think his range of outcomes is even like wide. Like it's very clear that it's just not really. There's just not much you're working with, Tank Bigsby, I don't think you can get like super excited about. Ventrell Miller, NPC. He didn't play this year. At best case scenario, he's Chad Mooma's backup this next year. Tyler Lacey, a run stuffer who didn't play that much. Yasir Abdullah. Not only do I think is it hard to get excited about him, he is a horrific fit in Ryan Nielsen's defense.
Mm.
I think he could be cut next year. Honestly, like seriously, he's small, like short arms, short. Does he seem like a Nielsen, like defensive end? Like
yeah, no, I feel like the only way he gets on the field is like late down packages where you have like everyone lined up at the line of scrimmage and like sending people kind of all over the place. Where he's either rushing the passer or dropping into the flat, and it's like you can't really ask him to do anything else unless we like see him at training camp and he's added a few inches and a lot of pounds.
Yeah. So, and then Antonio Johnson, I'm with you. You can get excited about. Parker Washington, I feel like is good for a 6th-round pick, but there's a difference between good and good for a 6th-round pick. I think he's good. I think he's good enough to where you don't have to re-sign Jamal Agnew. I don't think he's good enough to where you factor him at all into the conversation of do you need to add to the receiver room. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think he and even maybe Tank Bigsby are both like you can be like excited for them, but as like decent role players, not as like maybe getting a Pro Bowl in their career.
Yeah, and then you have Christian Braswell, who only played 3 games. Eric Hallett was on practice squad all year. Cooper Hodges were hurt, and then Raymond Vahasek and Derek Parrish didn't make the team. Derek Parrish is the second worst player I've ever, maybe first I've ever seen on their practice field. It's him or Tim Tebow. It's one of the two. And so going by PF, like Pro Football References weighted approximate value, they had 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. So their rookie class had a weighted approximate value of 14 last year. 11 of that came from Anton and Antonio.
Oh.
So that's 2 weighted approximate value among their other 11 picks. Tyler Lacey got 1, and Parker Washington had 1. Britton Strange had a goose egg. Yeah, Tank Bigsby had 1. There you go. So they had. So there you go. And then you had Yasir get goose egg, Ventrell, obviously, Braswell, obviously.
but you text the Tank's name and you saw like -2.
I'll be honest. I was surprised to see the 1. I will say it probably came from like the 2 1-yard touchdowns he had like the first 3 weeks of the season. So, but like that shows it right there. Like the only 2 rookies to really be excited about, I think, are Anton and Antonio, and everybody else is kind of just wait and see. So those are clearly the rookies of the year.
All right, Jaguars comeback player of the year. I think Dwayne Smoot definitely deserves an honorable mention. Probably Devon Hamilton too, but I would say Calvin Ridley would be my pick for this one.
I'll go with give me a second.
Who was
I'll
bad
go.
last year that was decent this year?
I'll go with Monteric Brown.
What did he come back from?
He wasn't an NFL quality player.
All right.
Just to mix it up a bit. He went from being a practice squad level player to being a serviceable backup. Boom.
All right. Well, he is my sixth man of the year because I was going to steal some NBA awards.
Where'd he come back from?
What?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You got bulky.
He was like started off as a bench player, and then like when he got a few minutes, it worked out.
The Gus Love story.
Antonio Johnson probably would have been a better pick for sixth man, but like he already got a whole defensive rookie of the year trophy.
That's my pick. He's my pick for a record.
Okay, you're gonna double down with him. I was just trying not to double down as much as possible.
The Gus Love story, man. Bench players talking like starters. I hate it.
All right, let's go to most improved player. Who do you got there? I can go first. I have Andre Cisco because I think he was playing really well at the start of the year, and then injuries kind of delayed the breakout season that he was having. I wrote down Devin Lloyd at first, but I feel like it was more of like
if we did this in like week 9, he runs away with it.
Yeah, but I feel like his improvement was like more of like getting to like a good floor level and like knowing where he was supposed to be at times rather than like actually like improving like technique really well and like taking a next step as like a good player. And so I feel like Cisco was excuse me, someone that was doing that.
I'll go with Trayvon Walker. I think his floor raised a good bit. I know. So he's still, if you're going by like pressure metrics, still like a below average pass rusher. As a rookie, he was one of the worst pass rushers in the NFL. So he went from being like legitimately one of the worst edge rushers in the NFL to a so-so one who got 10 sacks. I think even if some of that is some like funny money, I'll go with Trayvon Walker because he like it wasn't like a bit. Like he was like I'll pull up his like 2022 pass rush stats. Legitimately was like very, very bad as a pass rusher. And now he went from like terrible to all right. So there's at least some trajectory there.
I was going to say, I think you and I both said that he didn't take like a huge leap, but he did take a step this season. I'm pretty excited to see whether it's going to be a step versus a leap next season once Nielsen is in the building.
Yeah, and like if he had the same year this year that he had as a rookie, I think it would have been fair for like bus talk, but he didn't, and that shows you one, how much he improved, and two, how much he had to improve after his, rookie year. So his rookie year out of 123 edge rushers, he finished finished 98th in pass rush run rate in his rookie year.
Yeah.
Delicioso. Yeah, yikes. So definitely got better in year 2.
Are you pulling up year 2 now?
No.
No.
No, I'm not.
Award. Speaking of Trayvon, assistant coach of the year, I've got Bill Shuey, mostly because he was one of the few coaches who were like actually kept on staff, even though most of his side of the ball was let go. So I think that's kind of like a good sign right there. But also, I believe Trayvon and Josh Allen finished with the most sacks of any like team combo in the league this season. And so obviously Trayvon getting to 10 is pretty big. And then Josh breaking the franchise record is pretty big. So I feel like Shuey is coach of the year for me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. Like there's a reason he was one of the few guys, retained. Like his guys played fantastic, like throughout the season. Both their productions jumped up. And you asked like people inside the building, like the edge rushers and stuff, and other players on the roster. Like he's a guy who's really like respected for like his coaching style, his ability to teach. I think he's a big reason that you saw Trayvon and Josh have the seasons they had. So I'm with you there.
Cool. Did you give a most improved player?
I don't think I did. I'll go with not Devin, not Buster Brown. He's already my.
Not Buster Brown, not Cisco. Or you
I'll
could
go Cisco.
Cisco.
I think either Cisco or actually take it back. Not Cisco. You ready?
Yeah, I already know who it's going to be.
Who?
Anton Harrison.
Who? Anton Harrison? He only played for 1 year.
Right. I thought you were just going to make it like he did improve a lot through the season, so I thought that was you're going to go for that.
Close your eyes. I want you to close your eyes.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Luke Farrell. Yeah. How's that?
Wow, you really got me. I heard the Luke F and thought you were talking about the center. I was like,
that's why I had you close your eyes.
Yeah, no, that was good. Well played.
Luke Farrell's not bad. You know, like he's a tight end. No, I think he's like a solid number 2 tight end. Honestly, like he's one of the rare day 3 picks that they've hit on over the last. He's probably him and Antonio are their 2 best day 3 picks, probably by considerable margin during the bulky era.
Yeah, I think like when they kind of let go of Chris Manhertz and then they had Luke Farrell as their in-house replacement, that worked really well. And then when they let go of Jawan Taylor and had they kind of had to make an in-house selection with Anton Harrison, but both of those moves worked out really well, and as they should in terms of kind of like, I don't know, finding value, but within your own house. So, NBA Hustle Award. I feel like I remember us doing this last year, and I easily thought it was Foye Oluokun. I'm going to go with the same answer this year.
Okay, I'll go with Evan Ingram. Honestly, the amount of hurdles that he did to get an extra yard on a 7-yard gain this year, he wanted it. He wanted it. I'm gonna go with Evan Ingram. He was their biggest dog, I think, this year.
That's a good
dog award.
All right, let's see what else we got. Most disappointing player. Did you write one down for this?
Yeah, Zay Jones is a tough one because it was injury, so I don't think you can put him. If he had that kind of production without injuries, I think he'd obviously be number 1. I'm gonna go with Luke Fortner or kind of Devin Lloyd. Like Devin Lloyd, like you said, he improved his floor, but name me a play that he made this year. Like obviously he had some impressive like run fits and stuff at times, but like name me an impact play that he had this year. If you're going to take a first round linebacker, you got to make some plays at some point, you know. They're treating him like talking about him like he's a developmental linebacker that you're hoping can become a starter. No, like you traded up into the first round for him. So I'm gonna go with Devin Lloyd simply because first round linebacker, make some plays eventually, and then Luke Fortner. I think definitely I think everybody agreed. Or at least me and you did. I've seen some fans like say he was good his rookie year. What happened? He was absolutely not good his rookie year. You know, he was pretty brutal. I thought that, especially since they harped all training camp, and he did look bigger, you know, and all offseason about how much bigger and stronger he got, that you'd see some improvement. He was worse last year than he was as a rookie, and he had a bad rookie season to begin with. So I'd say Fortner followed by Devin Lloyd for different reasons.
Yeah, I think Lloyd is definitely a solid one that I hadn't really thought of before. I think it's like a good one if you kind of like it did take kind of like more of a step back rather than focusing just on especially kind of the first half of the season when he had like a couple PBUs, a couple nice run fits, but like every linebacker that starts every game is going to have a couple of those on film probably. So, but I was trying to think of like players who weren't injured at all. So like Zay and Tyson Campbell came to mind, but I feel like it wouldn't really be right to pick them. But I settled on Tank Bigsby because I feel like when you and I have like talked about the Jaguars as day 2 picks last year, like we've always said it was more about like the process rather than the player, and like it was like not really anything about Brenton Strange and Tank Bigsby. It was about like how the pick was used, and then like those were just happened to be the players' names. But then like kind of after that dust settled, Tank actually had a really good training camp, and there was some like hype building for him into the season, especially like fantasy writers too, kind of like overhyped him, thinking that he was going to be like a big like touchdown vulture. And so even if like it was an unsexy draft pick, I think there was a decent amount of hype for Tank going into the season, and then like just it was kind of a disaster class as soon as it started. So
Judging from Balky's press conference at the end of the year, it was clearly just Doug didn't want to play him, right?
Sure. What makes you say that?
I mean, Balky made it seem like he said several times how you have to execute your visions for players, etc. It seemed like he thought Tank was going to play more, and the GM doesn't actually have any say in how much he plays. It seemed like to me Trent thought he was going to play a lot, and then Doug was like, "No, I don't want to play him."
Yeah, I see that, and like I definitely get how Trent was like, yeah, like my guys should have been playing more. I feel like he was talking about that for a lot of rookies too, but including Tank. But like I totally understand like Doug, like
I'm not knocking it.
So like, what do you want him to do?
Yeah, I'm not knocking it for the record because Tank was the third best running back on the roster last year. Like I don't think you can deny that.
Who would you rather have, Tank or Jamal Agnew at running back?
Next one. Let's move.
All right, clutch player of the year.
Not answering that. All right, clutch player of the year.
Clutch player, but also clutch. Well, so I put down Christian Kirk because I was thinking about his play against the Saints.
Yeah,
and he's also he's a big like comes up in crunch time like throughout this year and last year. But the Saints touchdown especially sticks in my mind.
I'm gonna go with Josh Allen. I feel like he closed several games out for them last year, specifically the Houston game. They don't win that Week 12 game without him going dummy against Laramie Tunsil in that last drive.
He was so good last year. It was cool like hearing him talk in the locker room because he was like kind of knew that like that's what like the great players do is like close out games, and he just had like the right mindset about it. And to see him actually do it was pretty sweet. Let's
do it again.
What's up?
Do it again.
What do I know? I'm just a gamer. Best play. My thought was when Lawrence sidestepped the defender against the Falcons and found Ridley for a deep touchdown in the first half.
I'm going to go with Lawrence's third down throw to Calvin Ridley against the Bills. Along the sideline.
Oh, yeah. That was a good pick. I forgot about that flag.
I'm going to go with that one. Yeah.
All right. Best moment. I just wanted to.
Best play that happened in this continent.
I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed when Josh Allen strip sacked Gardner Minshew in week 5-ish. And then I believe the very next play after that was ETN scoring on the Wildcat on the right side.
Yeah.
So that was a really fun 5 minutes to see.
I think best moment either has to be them closing out that game against Houston in week 12, whether you want to call that Josh Allen sack or them barely missing that field goal, or Josh Allen breaking the sack record at home against the Panthers. I think that has to be up there too.
For sure. You got a worse moment?
Probably Trevor Lawrence's injury against the Bengals. Like that entire sequence of moments against the Bengals, like him getting stepped on, Parker Washington not running the right route, Brandon McManus missing the field goal. No, let's just put Monday Night Football as the worst moment, actually. Go ahead and put Monday Night Football in general.
Calvin Ridley had like that big catch that ended up getting called back. Christian Kirk was hurt on the first drive. It was like
a lot of people,
prime time. A lot of people forever in Jacksonville, and they just came up short. They could have. That was the game that they like. If they had won, they would have technically been the number 1 seed for a little bit. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think that was the worst moment.
Yeah, no, they would have been in the playoffs if they won that game. And a lot of people forget about this because of all the other stuff that happened. Do you remember right before halftime, Luke Forner sends a bad snap towards Trevor. Trevor drops it and then heaves it to Calvin Ridley, and Ridley drops it. if anything on that play goes right, because 3 different things went wrong, anything goes right, they kick a field goal at halftime, and they end up winning the game later on a field goal. So that game was just a masterclass and
Total
nightmare.
unraveling.
They shouldn't play. They shouldn't play on Monday Night Football again during Trevor Lawrence's career. Just go ahead and no, you don't need the prime time. Get the hell out of it. Play on 1 p.m. on Sundays and hide from the rest of the league like you were born to do.
I love it. That's a good one to go out on. Well, let's do some
Yeah.
ad breaks and then come back and do some league-wide picks.
Nah, it sounds good. We'll be right back. Well, here we are. Here we are. Another NFL award show without any Jaguars nominated. So I'm not going to count Walter Payton of the Year award. I'm not going to call it a Mickey Mouse award because it's a good thing. What?
You call that comeback player of the year, but ouch.
So, time out. So, DeMar Hamlin almost dying and coming back as a Mickey Mouse of the Year award.
Okay, but like that's like you focusing on like one candidate for the award this year, like shaming the Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Mickey Mouse award.
Okay.
Yeah, Man of the Year. Get the hell out of here.
You're not wrong. I just wouldn't say that.
Go be a man in the Super Bowl. It's never a Super Bowl winner, is it?
That's true. Well,
yeah.
You gotta give some participation trophies out, you know? You gotta make all the guys happy.
Yeah, but nonetheless, the last time a Jags player, I believe, was nominated for any of these awards was 2019 when Josh Allen was nominated for Defensive Rookie of the Year award. So another year with no Jags nominated, but we're still gonna fire out our takes.
I think Trevor Lawrence might have gotten some votes last year.
He might have gotten votes, but he wasn't one of the 5 finalists. He got MVP. He got MVP votes last year.
Yeah. Okay. That's weird that you can like not be a finalist and get votes, I feel like. But
I think the finalists are the people who got the most votes. Like they don't give you 5 finalists and say vote for these. You know what I'm saying?
Oh dang. Well, that's how I did my ballot. Oh well.
It's okay. It's okay.
All right, let's hit the first one, MVP off the bat again. So the MVP kind of changed the rules, or the league changed the voting rules where the MVP voters kind of do their top 5 rather than just saying one name, and then there's kind of like some kind of point system. And then for all the other awards, they do list your top 3 and go based off that. And so rather than doing one name, what we're going to do today is list our top 3. And then if there's a tie for an award, maybe we'll do a Twitter poll if one of us remembers to post it. So, John, top 3 MVPs. Yeah.
For the record, we're not going to remember to post it, but nonetheless, Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, Josh Allen, then your MVP, Lamar Jackson.
I got Lamar at 1, Josh Allen at 2, and Dak Prescott at 3.
I get Dak. I get putting Dak there. I don't know. I feel like the 49ers have had a historically good offense. And I'm not going to credit the quarterback for it, so I got to credit somebody.
Well, I feel like we might get there the offensive player of the year, or at least that was my plan. But yeah, I feel like Lamar Jackson is kind of a shoe-in for the real award at this point. And I think it's pretty cool that he was like definitely like top 10 in pretty much every metric, but not even like top 5 in a lot of like the most important metrics like total passing yards, total touchdowns, EPA per play, quarterback rating, like a lot of the stuff that usually translates to MVP awards. He ended up earning it over Brock Purdy, who was like first or second in pretty much any quarterback statistic you could think of. But
that's good.
Fortunately, the voters are not gamers; they're ball knowers, and they actually watch the game. So,
well, wouldn't go that far.
Yeah,
people who have MVP votes.
You can definitely like just see the impact that Lamar Jackson has on like the whole defense, and then when you're watching the San Francisco impacts, like the gravity is a lot different around like the skill position players than Brock Purdy, even if he did have like 2 whole scrambles for first downs last week or in the championship round, which I feel like everyone was screaming about. Whoa, he can use his legs. Crazy.
Like Lamar is genuinely not good in the playoffs, but like, so the knock on him is that he's the best MVP who sucks in the playoffs. Like that's a that's a bad thing. Like he's about to be a 2-time MVP. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer. I could care less what he does in the playoffs because nobody's calling him Patrick Mahomes. Nobody's calling him one of the best quarterbacks, of all time. But he is
Yeah.
clearly one of the best quarterbacks of his generation.
Mhm. And he kind of kept doing this thing, I think, where he was like lifting up the offense by the bootstraps. Obviously, they got like reinforcements, but like Zay Flowers isn't like a total receiver. Odell was like pretty washed by the end of the season. Bateman
And have
continued
Mark Andrews for a while.
to have Mark Andrews pretty much the whole time. Monken was like a really good hire, but didn't have a pretty iffy game plan against the Chiefs. And so like it's not like it was like everything was suddenly perfect around him. Like he was still doing a lot of heavy lifting, even if he got a little bit more help this year.
I'm
So
with you.
yeah, we're in agreement. Lamar's the MVP. Give me your top 3 offensive players of the
Okay.
year.
Yeah, my number 3 would be Dak. Number
Okay.
2, Tyreek, and number 1, Christian McCaffrey. I will say, if Tyreek never gets hurt, he probably runs away with us.
I agree with that. He only missed 1 full game, I think, and then like a little bit of time in a couple other games. And so
Yeah.
he only finished with a league leading 1,800 yards and 13 touchdowns.
That's
So I
crazy.
think if he had gotten to 2,000, I feel like he would have been pretty much a shoo-in. But since he missed enough time to not get to 2K, I'm with you. I had McCaffrey 1, Hill 2, and then CD 3, just because I feel like this is a non-quarterback award.
I wouldn't give Brock Purdy a vote for offensive player of the year either, for the record.
No.
No.
I feel like CD Lamb like isn't even like a great candidate, at least compared to the top 2, but I would still give it to CD over Brock.
Yeah.
But yeah, McCaffrey is just like I feel like he's like a reverse vertical threat where you like Deshaun Jackson will like take a top off the defense and like defenders have to play back a little bit to respect him. It's like the reverse with McCaffrey where like he's such a threat near the close to the line of scrimmage that like defenses have to kind of play up, and so then that opens up stuff deep, which is arguably better than like a Deshaun Jackson opening up stuff that's shallow. So
can you imagine the Jags took him instead of Leonard Fournette? I don't think it changes anything for their history, but that would have.
I was like, maybe they win a Super Bowl.
Maybe because it is crazy in hindsight that it was like what year it was 2017 and there was still a team like wanting the plotting power back over this dude who literally is the perfect modern era running back. So it was a good bit.
So, defensive player of the year, top 3, go.
Number 3, Micah Parsons. Number 2, Max Crosby. Number 1, Myles Garrett. TJ Watt is a sack merchant.
Yep.
Get more pressures, fella.
Yep. I love it.
Yeah, be as efficient as Alex Highsmith, buddy. Then we'll talk.
I'm with you. I had Parsons at 2 and Crosby at 3.
Yeah.
So same top 3 though, because I also had Myles Garrett as the defense player of the year. He and Parsons, I feel like, were kind of almost similar to Hill and McCaffrey, where it was just kind of a class of their own. I mean, you did have Max at 2, but for Myles, I just think he was like arguably the best player. Like I feel like it was kind of split among the top 3 almost, top 2 or 3. But I think Garrett gets flowers for, just being so dominant for so long, but then also being dominant on the best defense in the league, or actually arguably second best defense after the Ravens. Yeah. But it was like one of the best defenses in the league. And they got like as far as the Cowboys got in the playoffs. So I think it's the year that Garrett gets his flowers.
I know like he doesn't have like maybe necessarily the pure like numbers, like sack numbers or anything. It's just I don't know. I don't care how caveman of a take it sounds. Like throw him the tape. Myles Garrett's the best defensive player in the NFL.
That's what I'm saying. These voters might be ball watchers because like you can see Myles Garrett make an impact on like every single play, and like not that TJ Watt doesn't do that, but not like he's not Myles Garrett.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Next.
Right, we got offensive rookie of the year.
It's got to be CJ Stroud. I'd put Puka behind him and then Sam Laporta because Puka and Laporta obviously had historic seasons, but Puka, let's be real, he's a McVay like merchant. Like you put Puka on the Tennessee Titans like this past season, he has 350 yards. So I yeah, I know you're gonna disagree with me, but
I
Stroud
disagree.
is far and away the rookie of the year. Now, Puka was impressive, but he got lucky where he landed, in my opinion.
I mean, I think that CJ Stroud also got lucky where he landed. Like, that's such a great setup, like the 1-2 punch that Houston has with like a CEO and defensive type, like great head coach in D'Amico Ryans, and then like a young, innovative Shanahan type play caller and Bobby Slowick. Like, I'm not going to go as far to say that Stroud is like a play action merchant because he's clearly already a top 10 quarterback, but like he definitely got like helped out by where he landed too. So I like, and like I'm not trying to take anything away from Stroud again, but like
Yeah,
I
you think
think
he's
Puka would have been
strong?
like a 1,000-yard receiver even on the Titans. To be honest, I like he broke like a 70-year rookie receiving record, and as well as like pretty much any other rookie record for a receiver. And so I think just like the fact that it was such a historic season for him, like makes me vote for him over Stroud.
Counterpoint: CJ Stroud made people think Dalton Schultz was good. That's enough right there.
Counterpoint: Dak Prescott made people think that Dalton Schultz was good.
He got a measly contract. He made Twitter people maybe, but I don't know. Fair enough. I know.
Who are you talking about?
Puka, you know them,
Yeah.
the people in the NFL shadows. But I know. Puka's epic. He plays anime. He wears his hair in a bun. He's your kind of player.
I wish I was cool enough to like or know about anime. I gotta at least try it out,
Does King of the Hill count?
but it's anime isn't just maybe is it short for animation? It's not that type of animation.
I think it is. Sure.
As I was saying, I was like, wait, I'm balky balling myself.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, defensive rookie of the year. So I haven't been very good at
It's
keeping.
probably honestly the toughest one.
So we agreed on MVP and offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year. So we need to put up rookie of the year to a vote, which I would lose. So that means I'm gonna forget to put it up. So defensive rookie of the year, I agree, was probably the toughest. I ended up going with Will Anderson for this one, and then Jalen Carter, and then Kobe Turner.
This is such a tough one, man. I'll go Devon Witherspoon third, Will Anderson second, and Jalen Carter first, even though Jalen Carter kind of fell off over the second half of the year, along with the rest of the Eagles franchise. But I don't know. This is a tough one because there were some good defensive rookies this year. Like all of the guys I think who are nominated, Kobe Turner, Joey Porter Jr., Carter, Anderson, Witherspoon, they're all, I think, very deserving. Kobe Turner, by the way, was taken immediately after Tank Bigsby.
That's right. I think Carter had like the most impressive flashes, and he is probably on track to end up being like the best defensive player from this class. But I just thought Will Anderson had kind of a bigger role on the Texans defense, especially with like the way that D'Amico likes to blitz a little bit more than a lot of like those like San Francisco cover 3 guys. But at the end of the day, like he likes to be able to get home with 4. And so like having Will Anderson is a big part of that. And he was just more consistent throughout the season. So it's a close race though. Like they're both good.
I think you can make a fair point. Like that's probably the toughest award I think to give out of this group.
All right, let's get comeback player of the year out of the way. I got Damar Hamlin 1, Matthew Stafford 2, Tua Tagovailoa 3.
What the hell did Tua and Stafford come back from?
Being hurt, I guess.
Like because he got concussed a lot last year. Like
I said earlier, like I'm going off like the list of finals. So I agree with what you said about Brees Hall earlier, but yeah, like Tua, like it was like a little bit scary because it was like he might actually have to retire with.
Yeah, it was scary.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, he like didn't get concussed this year, so here's an award.
Yeah.
And with Stafford, it's like he's getting old, he's getting tendonitis, like okay, that's expected. So the fact that he made it a whole season,
You
like the
said,
whole
yeah,
it's such a Mickey Mouse award.
you said, yeah, you didn't get concussed this year. Here's the award.
Hey man, someone too. I made it the whole year.
Yeah, no, give it to Hamlin. Shut the award down after this year.
Shut it down.
I'm still not convinced keeping Hamlin on the roster wasn't like a psyop or something like that. No. Keeping the Hamlin takes internal. Making these thoughts internal. Yeah, give it to Hamlin. Who the hell are you going to give the award to next year? Aaron. Oh God, they're going to give it to Aaron Rodgers, dude.
Yeah, you're right. Doesn't even matter what he does.
Maybe
Kirk Cousins probably should get it, assuming like they both play full seasons. I would bet that like Kirk performs better.
I don't like Aaron Rodgers, Gus.
I don't like him either.
Tell me it's going to be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
Okay, thank you.
Let's get to Coach of the Year, our final award. No, wait, we've got two more because there's Coach of the Year and then Assistant Coach of the Year. So Coach of the Year, who's your top three?
Sorry, I had to pull it back up. I think you got to go Shanahan 3, Campbell 2, and D'Amico 1. I'm sorry, taking the Texans to the playoffs. I like the Lions went 9-8 last year, so they were always on track to make the playoffs this year. Shanahan clearly got a lot out of 49ers, but they were always going to be good.
Yeah,
I'm not a big give it to Kevin Stefanski guy, and Harbaugh, I feel like it's like a lifetime achievement award. So I'd say D'Amico because the Texans nobody was picking the Texans to make the playoffs this year. Anybody who says they were is a liar. I had people telling me that the pick they trade away for Will Anderson is going to be a top 5 pick.
Yeah. No, it's funny, like looking back at tweets with that especially, a lot of people were like, what are they doing? So
yeah.
And then it actually worked out really well for them. I don't disagree with anything that you said, except for the bit about Stefanski. He's my number 1, and then I have D'Amico 2, and Dan Campbell 3. Just because, I think it should be D'Amico, honestly, but I gave Will Anderson Defensive Rookie of the Year, so I was trying to like share the love a little bit. And Stefanski, even though the defense was better for the Browns this year, and he's an offensive guy, like they did start 4 different quarterbacks, and like they still had to deal with that one guy from Houston being on their team. And so like,
do we know if he wanted Deshaun Watson or was that an Andrew Berry thing? If he wanted him, I'm not going to give him any credit.
I don't know. That's fair. He at least had to sign off on it.
Yeah. What you said about Jim Schwartz is why I wasn't giving it to him. Like their defense, I feel like got them there, and Flacco kind of became like an epic like thing to post about on Twitter.
Okay, that's fair. I think Stefanski is still like should be one of the top vote getters, but I'm going to change mine to D'Amico. You convinced me.
That's bullying work.
Assistant Coach of the Year. This one's our last one. End of the marathon. We got Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, Todd Monken, Jim Schwartz, and Bobby Slowick are the official nominees. I forgot to go over the finalists for all the previous ones.
Bobby Slowick for fighting through his past as a PFF analyst to become a good play caller. Jim Schwartz for carrying Kevin Stefanski to the playoffs. And Ben Johnson for turning down a bad Washington Commanders job. That job sucks. We have cap space and a number 2 pick. What the hell? And a new owner. What the hell is that supposed to mean to me if I'm a coach? You have cap space because your roster sucks. You have the number 2 pick. That could be anybody. It could be Blake Bortles. I don't care your new fancy owner from the Philadelphia 76ers who for some reason has Rick Spielman helping him pick a coach. Now, I give it to Ben Johnson for having the huevos and the smarts to turn down a bad Washington job that people have foolishly convinced themselves is some amazing job because they have resources that matters for a GM. If I'm a head coach, I do not give a rat's ass about your resources. I'm doing what Mike McDonald did and going to the ready-made team. So
Mm.
Ben Johnson for being smart, turning down terrible. I'm going on the record. Put it down. Terrible Washington job. Dan Quinn will be out in 2.5 years. That job sucks.
Out in under 3 years. I think it's going to be under 2. Yeah, I agree. You saw the vision very early. You've been saying this, but like, and in the after part, like, it's just like the PR stunts that the Commanders are trying to pull with like, oh, like we got like we like didn't want Ben Johnson because he wanted too much money, and then that made the Commanders look poor. So then they're like, oh no, wait, that wasn't it. It was just like a really unprofessional move, and like it's gonna like hurt his reputation. It's like, no, it's not. He's gonna have like be able to get any job he wants next year.
People forget that Josh McDaniels literally hired an entire defensive staff and then left, and then Frank Reich was left with said staff. Frank Reich didn't hire his defensive coaches because another head coach did it and then left. Nobody other than Washington and like Adam Schefter and Diana Rossini or whoever is going to care that he didn't take that job because it doesn't matter. And also for the he didn't interview well part, he was fine to talk to him a second time. If he didn't interview well, why are you going to talk to him?
Yeah,
we know you're not trying to talk to Aaron Glenn. We know you don't care about that. Yeah, no, Washington is easily the team I'm rooting the most against this year. I will have that bias. I hope nothing but the worst for the Commanders, strictly for the people who have argued with me about how good of a job that is. Ben Johnson.
I am a little bit sad just because I like Drake May, and I feel like whoever they get at number 2 is going to be like a solid quarterback, or at least should be. But then Dan Quinn went out and hired Cliff Kingsbury, so that is like even more of a dagger. Like, yeah.
And then he more or less was like, I hired him because he did good against us. Man, all you need to do is call crossing routes and somebody has a good game against you, dude.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like that was maybe like his strategy with Shanahan when he hired him in Atlanta.
It was. Like, he said it was.
And then like Shanahan like ended up becoming Shanahan. So
Terry McLaurin will be tweeting emojis in October.
You've had a couple good takes, but that was probably your best one today.
Yeah, no, I got worked up just because so many people have been arguing with me about it. But no, that I'm like, if I'm a general manager, that job's appealing to me. You know what I mean? Because that's like a long-term rebuild, and you have a ton of stuff to play with. Right. But if I'm a head coach, like it's literally saying the same thing as saying the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2013 were a good job, and we know they weren't. We now know in time all that cap space didn't mean anything. Oh, those high draft picks that you can use to find a quarterback, you end up with Blake Bortles. Like I just think as a head coach, the enticing jobs are like the Seattle Seahawks and what's another job like the Seahawks? I was like, what was like a mid-level team that fired the coach this year? I can't.
Chargers? They're probably bottom level.
Yeah, Chargers. I think the Falcons job is more interesting than the Commanders job.
Yeah.
If I'm a head coach, I'd rather coach the Falcons than the Commanders.
Yeah, I think that's probably good too.
Yeah. So sorry, I had to get that off my chest. Yeah. Josh Harris, your public enemy number 1 of the podcast, buddy.
Such a brutal process for them. I applaud you for making Ben Johnson your number 1 for assistant coach of the year just based on all of that. I personally have Mike McDonald and Jim Schwartz and Bobby Slug, but that was good. I have one last question for you, John. We can talk more about this next week, maybe, once there's kind of been some stuff finalized. But just short answer, do you think Fred Taylor is making the Hall?
No. He should. I think he should. I don't think he will.
Yeah, whoa.
Yeah,
before everyone starts tweeting at John.
I don't think he will. I'd love to be surprised because he definitely deserves it. It's just I feel like 1, he's a running back. 2, he's a Jacksonville Jaguar. He has several things working against him.
Yeah, I've heard people say that like, oh, he's like the only running back in the class, which is good.
Not a good thing.
Among the finalists, but yeah, I'm just I'm not too hopeful. I'm gonna be hoping to be pleasantly surprised, essentially.
Yeah, like I definitely do think, and honestly, I do think also that the Jaguars should have been pushing for him longer than they have been. Honestly, like I feel like that they should
True.
have started this campaign from a while ago. But like oh, look at some of the other guys. Like Devin
Maybe they were
Hester's
just
going to get
focusing
in.
on Sony first, though.
Fair. Like,
like, let's get one guy in. Let's get our foot in the
yeah,
door.
and that's fair enough. Fair enough. Like looking at the list, like Devin Hester's getting in, Torrey Holt's probably getting in,
Yeah.
Julius Peppers is probably getting in, Dwight Freeney's getting in. So it's like him versus Jared Allen, Willie Anderson. Well, no, Antonio Gates is getting in. Yeah, no, he's not getting in my opinion.
Because they just picked 5 names from the finalist list.
Yeah, and he's probably like 7th or 8th on that list of like guys.
Yeah.
Like there's several guys in that group who should get in. Breaking, there's been a lot of good football players in the NFL.
All right, with that, we'll leave it till next week, and at least I'll be prepared with a Super Bowl prediction for next year that I'll try to hold on to for as long as possible.
You got anything cooking up in Big Cat Country?
Actually, not too much at Big Cat Country, but I do have some stuff cooking at 1010XL. We're gonna be making a draft guide, and so doing like a little roundtable where I'm kind of collecting rankings from a bunch of just football heads at the station, including like Campo. Campo's the main one I'm really excited about, but like Dempsey will do it. Like we have just like a bunch of different perspectives. I'm also doing it, which is cool, and then I'll be like writing up some like player comps, strengths and weaknesses.
Hell yeah.
You can check out 1010xl.com for weekly rankings for like to be released throughout this month, or just look out for the full PDF that'll be released at some time in March.
I'm excited to read that, dude. Hell yeah, that's sick. I just saw your picture on there. Look at you wearing the suit. Look at you, man.
Yeah, I gotta get a new headshot, man. That's from like junior year of college, which is now 4 years ago.
Of college? I was going to guess junior year of high school. That still looks good. That looks good.
So
nothing like Campo's headshot.
I'm trying to think of what like my favorite player comp has been so far. The guy from Michigan, Blake Corum, reminds me of Maurice Jones-Drew a lot. I think I actually ended up writing down Doug Martin for the article, but
yeah,
he's like MJD, but just not as good.
And y'all like Trey Benson over there at 1010.
I mean, what school did he get to?
Yeah.
There you go.
You're right. You're right. The second best scholastic academy in the state behind your Knights.
Excuse me? What?
Okay, here you go. Yep. The Gators can't win on the field, so they're going to throw out this highest ranking public school. Yeah.
I just didn't hear. You kind of broke up a little bit. I wanted to clarify.
Does Florida have a Quidditch team? Because UCF does.
I feel like that should be docking you points.
And they kick ass. So, there you go. Get bulky bald, buddy.
All right, that's a good one to go out on.
On my side, I got starting my player draft profiles this week. It's funny, fans are obsessing over the player because you guys started yours this week, and your first one was Jackson Powers Johnson. That's also my first one. I like to do polls to let people like the readers decide who they want to read about next. It was funny. I kept seeing last year the same guy was in 11 different polls because he kept losing. Jackson Powers Johnson won the first one against the player that's been mocked to him the most has been Jarzon Newton from Illinois, the defensive tackle. So I put him against Jackson Powers Johnson, and Jackson Powers Johnson won with 84% of the vote. So yeah, so I'll have something up on him this week. Is it bad? I'm rooting for him to be there at 17 and for them to pass on him so I can just mainline the tweets. Is that bad?
Are you talking about JPJ?
Yeah, I want him to be there at 17 for them to pass on him simply so I can view the TL. Is that bad?
No, especially because I think there's a 90% chance that happens. Maybe the Jaguars will pick him. I'll be surprised, but I think he'll definitely be there at 17.
Oh, he'll be there at 17. He'll probably end up going first round. But
I think you'll go like 28th or something.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Regardless, I'm excited to watch them pass on him. So that's
fair.
yeah,
That's gonna be your first profile though, right? I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, that is coming this week. Start watching him last night. He's good. I'm a fan. I'm not,
Over the moon.
like I'm not like everybody else and ready to literally grovel and bow in his presence and everything like that. But he's a good little football player.
Less little than Luke Fortner. That's the key.
Yeah. Anyways, on that note, Gus, you got anything else for us?
No, sir. See you in a week.
All right. Well, we'll be back this time next week. Thank you guys, as always, for listening to the Jaguar Report podcast. I am John Shipley, my co-host Gus Logue, and don't forget NFL honors. You just got bulky bald. Give him the horns.
Where's down?